We clearly have a problem in New Zealand when we have just announced the government ratifying the UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights, and we have, even within the government, even within this Parliament, such a wide, divergent view of what it means. On the one hand, we have the Prime Minister saying that it is of no practical effect and that it's aspirational. And on the other hand, we have MP Honi Harawira, who's saying it is of enormous impact because, as Mei Chin says, it will inform the courts, it will inform the tribunal, it will inform political discourse for years to come. And I believe that Mr Harawira is right, because words do have to mean something. And the words of the articles of the Declaration are very, very clear in what they say. And I do not believe for a minute that the majority of New Zealanders agree with the sentiment set out in that declaration. I do not believe they want to live in a country where we're divided into two. Those who are Indigenous and have a separate set of rights and privileges to everyone else. I certainly don't want to live in such a country, because it's very clear when you read the articles, it says that Indigenous people should be able to have political autonomy. Well, the Prime Minister says that's an aspiration. But is it truly an aspiration for New Zealand that Maori people within New Zealand can have their own political structures, their own state, their own separate political structure? I say no. Mr Speaker, Article 26 says that Indigenous people have the right to the land and the resources that they traditionally owned or occupied. Well, clearly, if you look at that, that's all the land and all the resources of New Zealand. Now, we've followed a process where that land has been alienated, sometimes unjustly, and we're working to fix that through the treaty. But this article doesn't allow for that. It says all the land and resources traditionally owned or occupied should be returned to the Indigenous people. That's why Helen Clark, as Prime Minister, refused to ratify. And I think that Prime Minister Helen Clark, anything that came from the UN that was put in front of her, she would sign up to. But not this. Not this. And because Parakura Horome has said it was incompatible with the democratic processes and the fundamental laws of New Zealand. And we can't get around that by saying, don't worry, nod, nod, wink, wink, we're going to ignore it. Because what sort of integrity do we have as a country and as a government to sign something that we do not believe in, have no intention of honouring, and do not accept? And what sort of approach are we having to Maori in New Zealand when we sign something without meaning? It sounds a bit like 1840 all over again. And I believe the fact that we have such divergent views on it is the cause for division in New Zealand. Because Honi Harawira clearly has a view of what it means, but the government has a different view. Well, that is a cause for discord and disharmony. Why would we sign up to a thing that would cause such discord and disharmony? And, Mr Speaker, why do it under the cover of darkness covertly? I have to say, Mr Speaker, we in the ACT Party have been shocked and appalled, because when we signed up to support a national-led government, it never occurred to us that they would depart so radically away from their founding philosophy and their election manifestos over many, many years of having one law for all New Zealand, of everyone treated equally. I believe that was the founding principles of the National Party. That's why we're so concerned. Thank you.
Sandra Gowdy.